All right, let's go through and work out computing our very first confidence interval. This is going to be a confidence interval for the population mean. All right, so what are we given here? We're given that our sample mean is 98.9, that the size of that sample was 100, and we are given that the population standard deviation is 0.35. Now, the population standard deviation is not always known, but in this case, we can assume it for now. Especially, we are safe assuming it because our population size is large. Remember that we can give this, we can work with this if our population is above 30, right? That is what this confidence interval is going to be computed with. So our point estimate, remember our general formula is our point estimate plus or minus our margin of error. In this case, our point estimate is going to be the sample mean. It's just going to be that guy, the margin of error. In this case, what are we looking for? Well, let's go ahead and specify that we are looking for a 95% critical value, or a 95% confidence interval. I'm sorry. In this case, our margin of error is going to be the z critical value times the standard error of the sample mean. Now, in this case, because it's a 95% confidence interval and we are working in the normal space, we know that our z critical value is 1.96. And I'll talk a little bit about how to find other values of this. But for now, we just know that it's 1.96. That is the z critical value for our 95% confidence interval. Now, the standard error of our estimate is going to be the population standard deviation divided by the square root of n. That is by definition. We know that that is the standard deviation of the distribution of the sample mean, right? That's what I mean by the standard error of the sample mean. It is the standard error of the distribution of the sample mean. Now we have this, our margin of error is 0.686. So our lower bound of our confidence interval, right, the smaller side of it, is our point estimate minus that margin of error. And our upper bound is going to be the point estimate plus the margin of error, right? This one is rather small. You can see that our it's centered on that 98.9. It's pretty small because our population standard deviation is small and our sample size is pretty large. That makes our margin of error rather small, right? The sample size is what is changing our margin of error, or what is setting the size of our margin of error. And we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. But for now, we've made our very first confidence interval.